Out there in YouTube land, Dan here from Geekcast Radio doing another From the Long Box review. This is where I go through my collection, pick out a book, and talk about it. Let you know how it impacted my fandom, give you a review of it, or maybe pick out a book because I haven't read it forever or for the first time and seeing how it holds up years later. With the recent comeback of Fantastic Four, I've been going through a lot of Fantastic Four books, and this time around I'm looking at Fantastic Four number 395. Now, this doesn't necessarily have the cachet of something like Coming of Galactus, the story of the Lost Adventure, but it's a Fantastic Four book I've owned for some time, and it has Wolverine and the Thing on the cover. So I'm like, you know what? Let me check this out because I've owned this. I've never read it. Take a look into it and see how good it is. And this took place. This came out in the 90s, and I thought this was actually a phenomenal issue. First and foremost, when you open up with a panel like this of Wolverine literally, scarring the face of the Thing, you have my attention. And this is actually dealing with the ramifications of that action. I'm not sure if this happened in a previous Fantastic Four issue or if it was something else, but we see that the Thing has come to confront Wolverine for what he did. Basically, Wolverine was flipping out, having one of his berserker rages, and in that forever scarred the face of the Thing, making him more scarred than normal. I will say, at first, I didn't even realize how scarred his face looked. The coloring does look a little bit different, but I don't know if it really sells that his face is so much more deformed or different than it looked like before. So maybe the one negative. But I love the dynamic between Wolverine and Ben Grimm. They're just fun together. You have these two guys who have a lot of similarities. They're people who often feel like outsiders for different reasons. Ben Grimm because of the way he looks, Wolverine because of his personal history. They have short tempers, and they can cause a lot of violence in a very short period of time. But there's also other stories going on at the same time. Their interaction is actually being manipulated by the Tinkerer who is in jail. We also see the Human Torch who's off in New Mexico, just trying to find himself. As we've discovered within this, Reed Richards is actually lost. He's been presumably dead. He can't be found. And also a part of this is Sue Storm is in Latveria, but not with Doctor Doom, but with Nathaniel Richards, who is Reed Richards' father, and there's some revelations within this, and a big reason I wanted to pick this up and read it too is because knowing that Dan Slott's going to be bringing back the Fantastic Four, and knowing that Dan Slott is a student of the game of when it comes to comics. He knows a lot about comic history. He loves to play with it, bring in different pieces of comic book history, especially if you read a Silver Surfer run or a Spider-Man run. So I'm wondering, what are some things he could bring up, even in the background or his jokes? And I feel like there's a lot actually within this I could see happening. For one, if the Thing Richards is not a character that we see a lot anymore, I could see him bringing him back in some capacity for sure. And there's actually a huge hint in this issue that there's more connecting Reed Richards and Doctor Doom, Victor Von Doom, than we first imagined, and perhaps there is more of a sibling relationship in a way that it's hinted at. And I think that's been retconned or changed since then, but ultimately I think where my enjoyment of this really lies is that back and forth between Ben Grimm and Wolverine. You have a Wolverine who'll feel sorry for what he did, but at the same time he's still Wolverine and he's not going to be pushed around, so they have some back and forth going on. You have Hank Pym, who's kind of tagged along just to make sure things don't go crazy. And then, of course, the Tinkerer's goons show up to wreak havoc within these two. And it's a lot of fun, a really fun battle sequence between all these different people. You have, Wolverine and other characters I've never really heard of. This really random robot that has all the powers of the Fantastic Four. Again, a character I can see. I feel like that's a go-to a lot. It's like they have all the Fantastic Four powers, but the other pieces I think aren't as strong. The Human Torch is off in New Mexico, as I mentioned, and there's some shenanigans going on there. She-Hulk is there as well, but there seems to be some people that are trying to get after him for different reasons. So with this out of context, it's hard to follow all of this. But also, reading this, I love a lot of these ads. It's bringing me back so much. The Power Rangers from the 1990s, that video game, which I remember buying the day I bought that. I think I got it for my birthday, and playing it, but also being really disappointed at not being at all what I thought it was going to be. But again, we learn more about the history of Richards and potentially what seems like Doctor Doom's mother, and what that exactly means. It's not spelled out in this issue, but it seems like it's hinting at something specifically. But the action's a lot of fun. Now, is it like a deep thematic issue? Is it one that I'm surprised we're not getting reprints of, or it's going down in history as one of the best Fantastic Four issues? Not necessarily, but knowing like the 1990s, I don't hear a lot about Fantastic Four, their different runs. I was surprised at how good it was. Of course, we see Marvel Action Hour, a cartoon that kind of introduced me to Fantastic Four back in the day. So I was just happy, and then of course, ending with a drink among friends, which is always key. Having beers with your friends. There's so much happening in that panel that can't happen today. You have a smoking Wolverine, a cigar in Thing's mouth. I don't know if I guess they're allowed to drink because they just happen in the Avengers issue, but yeah. So I was just really impressed with this issue. It's a lot of fun, and the 90s Wolverine, there was something special about him. You could see why he was such a big character, and it's kind of ironic seeing Wolverine and Thing kind of partner together. 90s was like, okay, we need to sell more books. That's the Wolverine on the cover. But before that, it was the Thing who was the character that you would throw into a book to try to get people to read it. So seeing them kind of the old, biggest hero or biggest character with the new hot thing on the market, and it being the classic 90s Wolverine, it brought me back in a lot of ways, even with some of the ads. And of course, one of the greatest movies of all time, Double Dragon. Man, we actually reviewed this for an episode of Cinema Geeks a year ago or so. It's a weird movie. I'm actually surprised they even advertised it, because this poster in the back, or this advertisement in the back, is probably the majority of that budget of that movie. But anyways, so yeah, I thought it was a fun issue, a good one to kind of pick up and read if you're looking to look through some Fantastic Four books. And it's not going to have the notoriety of some other series, or probably have much history there. But it's funny reading these bits and pieces, and I wonder if many of them will come back to play in some way, with Slott taking the book over. And now that we're getting Fantastic Four back and Wolverine back within the same few months, I thought it was serendipitous in a way to talk about this issue. So yeah, a lot of things are returning, which I'm excited for. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Let me know what you think. If you've read this issue, are there other kind of low-key Fantastic Four issues that you really enjoyed that maybe don't get the same attention as some of the classic issues? Let me know in the comment section below. But that's it for me. Just remember, comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.